Today we'll talk about how to set up your home practice for the pranayama yoga study. As you know, there are 3 postures that we will be practicing throughout the duration of these 8 weeks. And you're free to choose any of the 3 postures for any of your practices. We're fortunate to have access to a lot of wonderful yoga props while in the studio. However, you may find that you don't have the same equipment at home, and that's okay. It just takes a little creativity to bring your practice home and to support yourself with props that may not look like your traditional yoga props, but work just as well. So the first pose we'll modify with our own props that we might find around the house is Shavasana, the corpse pose. And for Shavasana, folks often enjoy having some support under the head and then a substantial amount of support underneath the knees. So when you're at home, you can just use a pillow for under your head. Now, classically in Shavasana, we don't want the head too high up, so I'm just finding one of my couch pillows here that's a little flatter than your typical bed pillow that has more cushion and support. And then also I'm finding my just my blanket from the bed, and I can take this blanket and roll it up to whatever height feels appropriate for my body. And this goes under the knees. Now, as I have mentioned, it's okay to do your practice in bed if you prefer. So just finding your way to any flat surface that you have that's comfortable and lying down on the pillow. And you're looking for an alignment of your neck so that your chin is level with your forehead. So some of us may need additional pillows, additional support, or some of us may be comfortable without a pillow at all. It just depends on your anatomy. Now this doesn't feel like enough support for my body, so what I'm going to do is try a chair. So going into my kitchen, I'm just grabbing a kitchen chair. Now if you're on your bed, you might not be able to use this, but if you're on the floor, it's pretty simple to find a chair, place a blanket over it. Getting in is typically the hardest part. One leg at a time can come onto the chair. Now you don't want your feet plopped up against the chair, so I'm going to push it away just a little bit and adjust my body so that I feel comfortable. So those are some modifications for Shavasana, the corpse pose. The next pose we'll talk about is Balasana, child's pose. And this may be the most challenging pose to find support for with what you have around the house. Some ideas include finding some bed pillows, cushions from your couch, or blankets. So I'm going to find some bed pillows. And really this is very individual. You may like a lot of support, a lot of height. You may prefer less height, less support. I'm going to use a bathroom towel for my head here and take the blanket from the bed and just fold it up so that it can allow for some added support. In Balasana, supported child's pose, we come to hands and knees, widen the knees apart and bring the toes together to touch. Taking an inhale here, and exhale, sinking the hips back and down toward the heels. Now you may choose to pull the props right up against your belly, or you may need them forward a bit. It just depends on your comfort. Lengthening the body and then slowly lowering down onto your support. Perhaps adding a pillow if you like. And finding your way into the posture. Now, many people like to have support behind their knees or in front of their hips. So you can just find another blanket or bath towel and fold it. And here I'm giving myself some hip support. Or behind the knee support. You can also use both or all three if you'd like to have support underneath the ankles as well. So those are some modifications with props you can use for child's pose balasana at home. The final pose we'll modify for a home practice is Sukhasana, easy seated pose, which typically we use the blocks for. So when I practice, I like to use 2 blocks with the front touching and the back of the blocks apart, sitting so that my tailbone can just hover in between the space between the blocks. Now you probably don't have yoga blocks at your house, so if that's the case for you, you can find some books and stack books accordingly. So fortunately for me as a physical therapy student, I have plenty of books hanging out, textbooks. And the trickiest part is finding books that are of the same height that you can stack so that your pelvis is balanced, is neutral. And these aren't exactly the same height, but just for the purposes of our demonstration, I'll show you with these. So the way I have the books stacked is that same V shape. So the fronts of the stacks are touching and the back of the books are wider apart. And I'm also moving this right up against the wall so that if I choose, I can have a little added support behind my back from the wall. I just come in front of the books and have a seat so that my sits bones are supported by the books and my tailbone is able to just hover in space between the support of my sits bones. And you know, you might get here and decide, wow, one sit bone feels a little higher than the other. I need a little bit more of a layer, and add another book or a stack of printer paper to support your spine. And then you're up right against the wall so that if you need to, when you're in this easy seated pose, you can lean back for some support or come forward. Now, many people also benefit from some support under the knees, which you can find with pillows from the couch, or even bath towels rolled up. I like bath towels because they're a little more firm than pillows tend to be, but either one that you prefer is fine. Sometimes using both is also beneficial. So drawing the pillows in, my knees are still kind of floating in space here, so I might fold the bath towels up a little extra for added support underneath the knees. Feeling balanced in the seat, tilting forward, backward, then finding neutral, lifting and lengthening up through the spine, through the crown of the head, and rolling the shoulders back and down. Allowing the palms to rest on the thighs or in the lap. And just enjoying the support that you can find just with things that you have lying around the house. Really taking time at home to find the props that will work for you in order for you to build the postures and be comfortable so that your focus can truly be directed inward toward your practice. Thank you for your kind attention and happy practicing at home.